Welcome to the Earthworks podcast, where our team will share the jargon of carbon with many of the turf friends we've met over the past 35 years.
Hello all and welcome to the Earthworks podcast. This week I'm your host, Jack Higgins, and man, I'm with our old buddy.
Yes, sir.
Josh Saunders.
Good to see you, Jack.
Good to see you, dude. Thank you so much for having me out.
Thanks for having me, man. Have you grown a little bit more since the last time I said you?
Okay, for those of you that aren't tuning in on YouTube,
I think I need a step stool.
Yeah, you got to get on this. You got to get on the YouTube channel and see Josh and I. We're standing out on the tee overlooking beautiful Lancaster Country Club on a 50 degree day in January.
Just right around 50. I mean, you can't beat this, right? Like to be January 7th, I believe, and
it's beautiful.
Especially with the winter we've already had, and just the brutal wind, and it's nice. We're actually getting some stuff done out on the property this week. Everybody's rejuvenated after the holiday break and bringing in 2026.
Make hay while the sun shines, dude.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're out here, and you've got some play out here too. In fact.
Yeah, actually, it is kind of the first day we've had play really since we closed back in December. Our championship course, the old course, closes in December every year, reopens right around Easter, so first week of April this year, but we keep our Highlands 9 open all year long.
Excellent.
And so a lot of the locals come out and play, and 9 holes, they have 2 pins set up, a red pin and a white pin, so they'll play the front 9 to the white and the back 9 to the red, and get to keep that swing going.
Yeah, it's the way to do it. That's cool. Winter golf rules, and and people get to get out here and still be a part of LCC,
right,
and enjoying it.
100%.
So, dude, what we want to cover in this talk, you and I were kind of discussing, and we were thinking we haven't been on since the Open, and we haven't kind of had like a debrief on the Women's Open 2024. Yeah. So we can do some of that, and then also. It's also fun in the wintertime here to kind of just drill back down on like agronomy practices and program and so let's kind of touch base and see what we've done here at Lancaster Country Club.
Well, obviously, the Open was a huge learning opportunity for me, everyone on my team, and even the club for that matter. And I've taken a lot of the things from the journal I always reference.
Yes.
Leading into the Open, made some tweaks, and since now 2 years later, we've made some pretty big changes to our program in a good way, I think. But
okay.
First and foremost, got to thank you for all your support around the Open. Man.
Yeah, dude.
You guys, y'all's presence, everyone that listens to these podcasts, they know that they're no stranger of how big of a believer I am in Earthworks, how much you, Joel, and the entire Earthworks part of my family, and you guys shutting up shop that whole week, and
it was fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and, looking back after the dust kind of settled, and from my standpoint, getting to sit back and be out doing my rounds and listening to them day to day, it was great. Good stuff. Really
I
good stuff.
appreciate it, dude, and it really means something. I appreciate you saying that. Like it means something to me because we had a lot of fun doing it, and it was a two-way street, man. So thank you so much for having
100%.
us.
And I think for the volunteers and everyone that was a part of that week, they saw it, they witnessed it too. They knew that it was a show and it was fun. And that's what I wanted. And anyone that's looking back at it, I hope that's what they achieved. And plus, I got 45 minutes or an hour of busting on Pete. And that's always great. Always great to me.
Oh, great! All right, well, cool. Yeah, that was excellent. And anybody should tune back into those podcasts if you hadn't heard them. They were wonderful. And then, but also, what a rousing success!
Thank you.
The whole event was here.
Yeah.
So this is our chance to kind of talk about what went into that. Well, let's define what the success was. We could say it was a rousing success, but I'd like to hear from your perspective. Why was it successful? How was it successful? What did that mean here? First of all, who was the winner and what was the winning score? How did the golf course play?
Yuka Sasso won. I believe it was 4 under.
Yeah, only 4 under.
Yeah, 2 years has passed, so my memory is not always the best. Everyone knows that about me, but I'm pretty sure it was 4
I think
under.
It was too.
I think there was only 2, maybe 3 players under par.
Yes.
So that was kind of a good feather in the cap, for a lack of better
Well,
words.
and you totally shut down the world number one
I
on the
did.
first day.
I'd not necessarily
Not
me.
you.
Let's
Okay,
let's
not you.
face it.
The
I had
golf
nothing to
course.
do with it. But the golf course, it rose to the challenge, and she was, if you guys remember, she was on a tear. I think
Nelly Corda.
She had won like 7 or 8 events in a row. Was the odds-on favorite.
It was almost looking like, oh no, this could be a boring like championship,
right.
because
So
that's how dominating
Yep.
she was coming into it.
So in the first round, she actually started on number 10.
Okay.
And I think she bogeyed 10 and then parred 11, just kind of routine U.S. Women's Open, right? And then she stood on the 12th tee, which is, our notorious signature par 3, straight downhill, 150 to 165, wind swirling through the little ravine there, guarded by bunkers in the back, water in the front. And, 10 shots later, she walked to the 13th tee. So it definitely created a buzz. I had the privilege of being on Golf Channel that morning too at 11 o'clock, which was literally 30 to 40 minutes after. And in our position, you can't really prepare yourself for that. You're told by the USGA reps, or look, you got to be at Golf Central trailer at X time. Here's what you don't know what they're going to ask you. You have no idea.
Okay, yeah.
And it was live.
Oh my god.
And the first thing is Brandel Chambly coming at me with, have you heard? And I'm like, yeah, I've heard.
Oh, have you checked that out? Is that a clip on YouTube?
I don't,
all right.
I don't.
For the listener, I'm gonna do some hunting,
Yeah.
and if that's on YouTube, I'm gonna link it into the description here.
I unfortunately am a YouTube TV guy.
Okay.
And if everyone that has that, once you record something, it's gone in a year.
Oh, okay.
So the only thing we have now is just the actual footage of, the first, second, third, and final rounds.
Well, your interview might be on YouTube, so we're gonna check it out. But anyway, so she stuck it to you right there at the desk.
He did.
Oh,
Brandel
he did.
Chambly
Okay,
did.
yes,
Yeah.
and
Which,
and
we all know in golf who Brandel Chambly is.
Okay,
yes.
got it.
Right.
So he stuck it to you at the desk, and what was your answer?
I kind of honestly said I wasn't really surprised, and I didn't mean it in a negative or bad way. It's just, being here for 5-6 years as a golfer, watching members, I know what that hole can do to you. And I know that you can walk off with a birdie and think it's going to be the best birdie of your round, or you can walk off with a really big number 10. That, is going to kind of ruin the rest of the round. So honestly, that's why my answer was I wasn't really surprised. I mean, it's the wind dictates so much there. Whether you think it's in your face or left to right or right to left, you basically, I always say, every time I played it in 7 years now, 165 club, eyes closed, see what happens.
Because that's it.
That's it.
Got it. So you play it long is the idea. Play it long.
Yeah, I'd rather be in the back bunkers.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, so.
Okay, so that's the way it started, and the way it ended was with only 2 or 3 players under par.
Yeah, under par. And I mean, look, I will never sugarcoat it to anyone. I said it in multiple podcasts afterwards. Mother Nature was our biggest friend that week.
It was such a glorious week.
It was an absolute ideal week to host a championship. I mean, highs were low 70s. We had cool nights, light winds. We had, little dusting of rain on Wednesday, but then the winds on Friday just really dried everything out. And, it was just picture perfect. I always go back to that Monday night. I think it was the night before you and Joel got here.
Right.
And just horrendous weather forecasts. I mean, like, we were supposed to get up to 2 inches of rain.
Thunderstorms.
1 to 2 inches of rain. I mean, good friend at Pink Creek down the road, Steve Earhart, got 1.5 inches, less than 3 miles away. Layola, where one of my assistants lived, his family said they got like almost 1 inch, 2 inches. So we're like in this perfect little bubble. And I remember we were in a weather delay before the crew could go out, and I was sitting at the RV, and you could see both cells
on either side.
Just either side. And I just couldn't help to think Dad was looking down at me, and it was just special. And I just knew right then at that moment it was going to be a pretty special and epic week, and it turned out to be that way for sure.
And the USGA commemorated it as well on
Yep.
Sunday night.
They did.
And gave you a nice prestigious award.
Yeah, the
Tell
E.J.
us,
Marshall Award.
tell us about it.
It's just a recognition for, the dedication and hard work that my team did. And I think
Yes.
that's what's important. Yes, my name's on the platter. Yes, I got to hoist it, but it was for all of them.
Everybody.
And in all honesty, it's not just the team, it's for my entire membership.
Yep.
I mean, when I set foot on property back here in February of 2019, a month before our first podcast together,
Okay.
they've bought in since then. And, I think that showed in the world stage for sure.
Heck yeah. Yeah. Well, think about all the work that you've done in that in between time.
It's been a lot.
So that kind of led you up to a glorious summer of 2024.
Yep.
And it really increased, like you said, the whole membership, like this whole area was like really kind of basking in like a really great golf season. Like they had a good time.
I mean, I think obviously anytime you're hosting a national championship like
Bring
that,
it to this area.
Bringing it to this area, such a metro, it's not necessarily the metropolitan area that everyone thinks, but when you have Philadelphia an hour away, Baltimore an hour and a half away, New York, hour and 45 minutes away, it brought a lot of people here. And it created a lot of excitement, a lot of buzz for the club that we're still reeling off of today. But one quick thing I wanted to say post open that was really unique and cool agronomically is, we set the attendance record that week and had, probably 130 to 140,000 people on property throughout the week, right? No rain, so we didn't have to really deal with that issue outside the ropes, but a boatload of compaction, lots of compaction. And then if you remember, post open, we got rain on the Tuesday. So we started air fine on Tuesday right after the open and got rain, kind of hindered the progress of the day. After that rain, we did not receive another drop of rain for 7 weeks on property.
Oh my
after hosting the Women's Open. So look, I went to the membership and I said, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're not going to go out and seed a bunch of stuff right now. You got to have water. That's kindergarten stuff we're taught, right? Like sunlight, soil, water, make stuff grow. So we're going to relax. All I did, honestly, to all the listeners is we solitined and we put out renovate.
Oh, dude.
That's all we did. All we did.
That's all that, and almost you were lucky because, like you're saying, like without any moisture. What if you went out with a bunch of like salty fertilizer?
Yeah, no, 100%. Just I believed in what you guys have taught me in 20 plus years, and just relieved the compaction, got a little oxygen exchange in there, and gave it some juju with the renovate, and we were fine. I mean, our crosswalks on fairways 2 weeks back to normal.
Wow.
We didn't sod anything on. The only thing we sodded on the entire property was underneath the actual grandstands and towers that were over top of tee boxes.
That's it.
So everything else.
So grandstands in the rough and everything.
Yep. I waited a couple weeks. Once we saw the forecast, we went out with some 822 in those areas and some renovate, knowing that we were going to get some rain. They started to bounce back. Then once we got back to kind of middle of August when I like to seed,
right,
we pounded it with a bunch of tall fescue and off we go.
Wow.
Yeah, very fortunate, very lucky.
What a great story.
Because a lot of things you think about when you're hosting, you got all the hype of hosting championships, right? And the buzz of, especially the majors where they're building these small cities around. And you're going through the process, and in the back of your mind, you're like, what's going to happen when they're gone?
Well, you're also thinking about the people that you're here to, the customers here, the Lancaster Country, the Lancaster Country Club.
Yeah, you're returning it as quickly as you can to the membership that supports you, and that was our number one goal, and we achieved it. But but what the Open did, going back to your original question, is like the club was already kind of taking a turn, a right turn, and really becoming relevant on the national stage. It was booming you know, I said it to you in multiple podcasts. I think one of the best things about COVID, and I hate saying it in that fashion, was what it did for the game of golf.
Yes.
And specifically for an area and a place like Lancaster, because as I mentioned, how close we are to these metropolitan areas, a lot of people moved here.
Yeah.
Lots of people moved here. I'd love to see what our population number went up to, but with that said, was a booming membership.
That's great.
And it started, a lot of youth came in, which was
Mm-hmm.
huge for our progression down the road. And
And
yeah,
just
we're in a really good
young
spot.
members. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good
yeah,
spot.
100%. Young families, and you know, it's exciting to be a part of.
That's great. So that made for a very successful 2024, and very cool story about how kind of simple your recovery was.
Yeah.
Like really simple.
Honestly, I was shocked. I mean, you know, I don't know how to word it any other way, because it's something anyone that hosts championships will tell you that, you know, and that was my first. I got my first taste, and I hopefully get a lot more.
Okay.
But you know, I think it's always in your back of your mind, A, what's weather going to be during that week, and B, what's it going to be like when everyone packs up shop and leaves.
How do I return this
Yeah.
back to the membership?
Right.
So no, you like, and think about everything you avoided. You avoided all the logistical confrontation of trying to get sod trucks in here and lay sod in
Mhm.
between thunderstorms and get amendment down and in between play, and now shutting down holes that were shut down since the season opened and
Yep.
everything like that. So
Yep.
all that
Yep.
avoided.
Yep.
Very
Avoided.
cool. Which doesn't happen also unless you're healthy going into it. So as I ask about the 2025 season, I want to then like kind of put it in light of the conversation of overall annual agronomic plan, and maybe some things where you've shifted or learned. But let's talk 2025. So what kind of challenges were presented to you last year?
So it's you know, it's hilarious, right? Like, you go from 2024 probably being the pinnacle of my career, probably best season
Mm-hmm.
of my career, to arguably one of the top 3 hardest seasons of my year. And
That's right.
man, what a whirlwind. I mean, it was all extremes. I mean, it's like someone, you want to stop because of this?
No, it's all
Okay,
good,
sorry.
dude. Hey, we're working out here.
You're
And
working, you know, it's January, taking advantage of what we can do. But anyway, like, it was, man, Jack.
What was so hard about it for people listening around the country that maybe didn't have the Pennsylvania weather, and even locally here, I know it was hit or miss with rain. And
Well, it was. I mean, I remember getting a lot of calls from my Philadelphia peers being like, "Buddy, are you okay?" You know, like,
oh, dude.
we got just this, but you're getting just hammered.
So
And
several like 3-4 inch rainstorms.
Absolutely, yeah.
Back to back to back to back.
Yeah, so we had a couple 4-inchers, and you know, I think in heading into middle of June, we were about 14.5 inches above average with rainfall.
Yeah.
And we all know in this industry, right? Like, that poses so many challenges, from
Especially that time of year.
getting everything done. You're growing out, you know, everything's waking up. It's, you know, soil temps are rising. It's hard to keep up with it in a perfect situation, a perfect storm. So you're balancing that, then getting all your preventative applications out for the season. You know, whether it's your pre-emergent or your ABW program or your patch diseases, right? You're trying to balance all of this with a membership that's eager to get out when it's nice. So it was.
Did you get good response? Did you get good control on pre-emerge? On insecticide? It all worked. I mean,
I think I think we pegged everything. It was.
But
it
there
was
were
good.
those times where you would put out the pre-emerge and then get like the 4 inches of rain and think, did it all wash through? Did it, or what?
No, I think there was enough time elapsed, especially with being a granular and just kind of, you know, watering in certain realms before you got that deluge, you know, for so to speak. So you're allowed to
Oh, what,
break
you're
down.
trying to say you know what you're doing?
Yeah.
You know what you're
Well,
doing?
no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying my team,
Okay, got it.
the guys that, you know, you surround yourself with good people and good things happen, Jack. You
That's
know,
the move.
that is the number one motto in life. But no, you know, can't.
But you had to deal with all that. You had like
Yeah.
that was something that it was stressful.
It was challenging. It was challenging to keep morale of the assistants up too, because their eagerness, their anxiousness that we're not getting this done when this needs to be done. You know, so there's all hats that you have to wear, right? And you know, and also keeping membership at bay, and it was a lot. And then, you know, we got through June. Remember, guests, we kind of started to dry down. It was perfect. June was great, great, great. And then July 1st hit. And, you know, anyone that knows our property, we're prone to flooding. And
we're sitting here on the Conestoga.
Sitting right above the Conestoga right now. And, you know, July 1st, we went through a little 3-day stretch in which we got a storm hit us on the Monday afternoon and gave us about 2.5 inches of rain in about an hour and a half.
Okay.
That's
an insane amount of
in
rain.
a time, yeah. And then so the next morning we obviously started to flood. We crested right around 13 feet, which is kind of high.
Okay.
You know, traditionally, if it's 8.5, we get above the banks, but doesn't get to our fairways. 9.5 to 10 is when all fairways are under, and our 6th green, which is right behind Jack there.
Yes.
11 feet, everything.
And you were at 13 and a half.
And we were at 13.5.
Oh my gosh.
But the worst thing about it is it was in the 90s.
Right.
We started to recede on that Tuesday afternoon, and a lot of silt deposit everywhere. And our 6th green has mounding to the right that Nagel put in back when we rebuilt the greens to kind of help deflect silt during the receding process. But still, water can make its way around it.
Okay.
So, I mean, look, think about it. 95-degree afternoon, pure sunshine, water this deep over top of the putting surface is just absolute magnifying glass.
Oh.
And about an hour and a half, around 5:30, 6 o'clock that night, we get another thunderstorm that gives us about 3 inches of rain.
Okay.
And we flooded again. So we had basically 2 flood events in a 48-hour span. That the second one didn't quite get to 13.5 feet. It was a little more spaced out in time, so it wasn't as aggressive runoff in surrounding areas, but still, you know,
it was nasty.
Left a pit in your stomach. And I mean, look, I took this job. I knew this happened.
And you've dealt with probably a dozen of them
we've
already.
I mean, Ida back in 21. We crested right at 20 feet, and that was the 3rd largest flood in the history of the Conestoga. You know, these bunkers that you see back there.
Yeah, to
give justice, we're like 80 feet above the river right now.
And those bunkers are probably 30 feet above.
Probably 30. The second bunker had water in them.
Jeez.
So, you know, that was Ida. So, you know, look, it happens. You can't control Mother Nature. That's the part of our job. So, ironically, it was my role, I always feel at that point, is communication to the membership. I was sending them stuff every other day. And then just the staff, you know, keeping their morale up.
You mentioned silt.
Yep.
Does that occupy the most man hours after a flood? Or when your team is going out, like what are they doing in the first day after the flood?
Well, first day is patience.
Okay.
You know, like, I mean, that's the thing I was told when I started the interview process here by Tony Gustasis, who was at White Marsh, another Philly course that tends to a little prone to flood, that good friend Darren's at now. But when Pete gave me his number and contacted him in an interview process and called him, it's like, look, Tony deals with floods. You're going to get questions about this, call him. And the first thing Tony said to me is, be patient, Josh.
Got it.
You're going to see the water recede and you're going to immediately think you need to go out and do something.
Okay.
But you need to be patient. And what I found in my years of cleanup, and I really hope we're not giving a how-to to all the superintendents in the world of how to clean up post-flood, because I don't want anyone to go through
Yeah,
that.
but same thing. So there's going to be people that deal with
I
it.
think, I think it's just, I hate to use the word common sense, but mud is heavy. It's sludge.
Okay.
If you go aggressively to move sludge fast, you're going to damage what's underneath it.
Got it. Because it just takes too much
Right.
force to get it out.
If you allow a little time for the silt to dry,
Mm-hmm.
it's easier to move.
That's right.
It's easier to wash with hoses, to move into basins or low spots, however your exit strategy is. And I think it's less impactful on turf.
Very interesting. So the first thing is to be patient.
Be patient.
And then and then you'll know when it's time to get out there, you're saying. I mean, what's your gauge?
Yeah, I mean, it's all dependent. Next few days of forecast, calendar of events. I mean, it's a lot of variables.
And you're
gauge.
checking the mud.
Right.
You're looking at the mud and seeing like, hey, is this drying?
Dry out.
Is this
right.
drying out a little bit?
Yeah, we still got a Mississippi mud pie, or are we kind of hanging out a little bit, So,
is there a particular hose nozzle that you find to be best for this?
Just the jet streams. I mean, we all know the underhill with the nozzles that you can adjust just to get the most pressure.
And you
just
hammer it.
You just hammer it. And just wash it.
Got it. All right. So anyway, so that's how you went through July. And did things start to get better? I know August was a better month than June and July.
I think August was a reprieve for especially everyone in the Northeast.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, it was a huge sigh of relief for everyone. I mean, after the flooding 1st of July, we kind of settled in. I wouldn't necessarily say a little drought. We got timely rain when needed.
And no more of the multi-inches.
Deluges. I mean, we had a pretty rough one around Labor Day, another 4 to 5 inch storm. But, outside of that, it was pretty, pretty easy, I would say. And then we got to August, we air fied on August 11th. And if we remember, that week was like 90s, brutal, awful.
Yes.
And then
it was the hottest week of
the year, I believe.
Yeah.
And then the next week, bottom fell out, and it was fall.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember we had low 50-degree nights.
That's right.
It was, and arguably probably one of the fastest recovery airifications I ever had.
Awesome.
So yeah,
awesome.
And then we just kind of we nestled into a great fall where we produced some really good, a really good product. And 2025 in a nutshell was all extremes, and I'm glad it's over.
Yes.
100%.
So let's kind of chat some agronomy, being that your career here really has now has two distinct eras.
Yep.
Going into open, coming out of open.
And post open. Yep.
Yeah, right. So how does that affect the agronomy program? What kind of changes have made? Any highlights that you want to point out?
Well, I inherited a great agronomic program.
Right.
I mean, let's face it. I mean, Todd, he had the foundation here.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was just coming in and giving a few tweaks of what my knowledge and what my experiences was. And
well, we'll remind everyone that you spent a lot of time and took a leap of faith on not pulling a core on these greens for the first couple seasons you were here.
Yeah, I let's see, starting in February of 19, heading into June of 24 with the open, that's, basically 6 seasons, 3 airifications a year of cultural practices that I'm grateful this club gives me. I pulled a core once.
Okay.
So that's 6, times 3. You're a lot better with math than I am.
Yeah, 18. There
18. So 17 times of not pulling a core.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, you pulled a core only once.
Only once. And I think as I've gotten older and more experience, I think that's, it's one of the biggest things I've taken away from my years here. When I started here, you remember I sent you and Joel soil test, and I had less than 0.05%.
Yeah, you were down to
It wasn't even
literally
half
nothing.
a percent. It
Yeah.
was basically nothing there. And, so I immediately went into a mindset of what do I need to do? Because I remember during the interview process, it was constantly asked to me, like, why do ball marks explode? Why do we have such bad spike marks around? And, you kind of have to explain that if you don't have that beneficial organic matter up top to provide protection, that's the results you're going to get.
That's right. Yeah,
So,
humus, you can dry down humus and it firms up.
yep,
I mean, that's what stitches it all together.
yep.
So, okay, so that was kind of leading in, and that was a focus for you.
Yep. So, and then we get past open. I pulled a core on that Tuesday afterwards, obviously because I had just put him under the ringer for 2 straight weeks. And then that was the last core I've pulled since then too.
Okay.
And I've taken a mentality, and that's why I kind of reflect back to all my years of experience, even dating back to Pete at Kinlock and, going to Longview in Pittsburgh. And, I'm now heading into my 14th season as a superintendent, believe it or not, and 20 plus years in the end, 25 years in the industry. So I'm a firm believer for firmness and plant health. Everyone has different aerification protocols, right? Either you get maybe twice a year, you get the shoulder seasons. A lot of us private clubs have the benefit of 3, where you're doing something either pre-opening or in the spring or dead of summer in August, or again, late season, right? I'm a firm believer in pulling a small, less impactful core in August. You get that oxygen exchange. You're kind of giving it the opportunity to breathe. You're releasing all the toxins.
So as far as pulling a core, you would say that's top priority. That August
in the August time frame, only August. A 3/8, and I still do my normal traditional deep tine and dry eject during that as well.
Got it.
But during those shoulder seasons, I want to focus on depth.
Yes.
I want to focus on breaking the layering that may be occurring in the profile. I want to provide that channel early season to help warm soil temps up a little faster, because you're getting some ambient temperature in there with the sand, going down deep with the sand. We have A1, A4 greens. Hell, I don't know if sometimes these greens have been awake by July 4th up here, so I think that's my mindset there. I think in addition to that, you're getting you're improving your infiltration of your profile as well and helping with drainage. So, that's my advice. That's what I kind of preach to my assistants.
Right.
If you're out there getting a new job, or you've been somewhere forever, what works, don't fix it. But for those new assistants that may be going into their first season as a golf course superintendent, you get those soil tests back the first time. Don't freak out so fast, right? Like, this is a living organism, and we all got to remember that.
Yeah.
And I think if you just focus on that relief in August, the less impactful when you're in the growing environment, that you're going to get the quickest recovery. Right, that's the big
you
thing.
got to get all that hot gas out of the greens, right? Like you gotta, and also like that's if you are getting thatchy, that's when it's going to be the worst time to have that thatch there, right?
Yep. So you're kind of setting yourself up for the rest of the season. Is a big thing. But then I would strongly encourage focusing below that 2 to 3 inches in your shoulder seasons.
Wow.
And I think ultimately, that's what set us up for success here, especially with the Women's Open. I mean,
that's some really good advice.
Yeah, look, it's one thing to host a national championship,
right?
We all host our member guests, and hopefully you view that as a national championship, right? I do.
Dial it
I
in,
always
baby.
have. That's it. But to be sitting there on a Tuesday afternoon and have the bigs of the USGA saying,
You're good where you're at.
You're good where you're at. And we didn't touch greens at night for the rest of the week.
It's really
period.
Wild. It's really wild.
First thing I remember I walked out and I turned to Matt, former superintendent who's now in Jersey, I said, well, what are we going to do with all these people?
Yes.
You remember, like
Yes.
we had the largest known divot crew
Yes.
in any event, but
Picking up sticks that weren't there,
right.
dude. There was well, I mean, everyone took it in, you know.
Yeah.
You take it in, you get out there, you walk around and take it in, and it was nice.
Yeah, and so I think my big point, you know, to any first timer or rising superintendent is, you know, let things come to you.
Yeah.
You know, don't worry about the things you can control in your first year.
There you go.
You know, all of us are inheriting something, right? And all of us are inheriting what a predecessor has done prior to them. You know, you got to believe in that a little bit too, and just let, you know, your experiences take over.
Yes. It sounds like a major theme for this podcast, dude, is to be patient. You're saying, like, that's what you say after the flood. That's what you're saying here.
Yeah.
Like, patience.
And I don't think I would have said that 6 years ago.
No.
I mean, you remember me at
You're
Longview.
aggressive, dude. You're aggressive.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I still am, but I think the more years you do this, the more you learn what not to do.
Okay.
And I think that's something that everyone should really take away from each year when you reflect back on, you know, you asked the question of how 2025 was, you know, you reflect back at what not to do, you know, not necessarily what did I do, you know, I mean, that's always a good thing, and don't get me wrong, but learn from your mistakes, you know.
Okay, so not saying this mistake, but I know one thing that you were kind of forced to change going into the open was your fertility schedule.
Yeah. So, you know, inherited a great old property, hodgepodge grasses in the rough. So, you know, from POA to bluegrass to tall fescue to some rye in some areas. And
that was one of your biggest concerns, honestly.
100%. I remember
for those seasons, we're like, I'm hosting a televised event, and the rough is all pocketed and pitted because it's different turf types all over the place.
I remember being on 17T and what would have been the week before the open in May of my first year in 2019.
Okay.
And looking across, and it looked like it snowed because of the amount of seed heads.
Oh man.
And
that's right.
just not knowing what to do, you know? And, but the biggest thing as I progressed and started kind of dialing in on the seed head program was getting all these different species uniform.
Okay.
By May.
That's the idea.
You know, to get all of these for my, you know, and I always try to be careful because you always want to reference what you're doing for the membership. But in my mind, it was knowing that they wanted the rough at 3.5 inches.
Okay.
You know, we maintain it 2. So big difference there, right? So, you know, you're cutting the rise, you're cutting the tall fescues that may be waking up a little bit faster than the POAs and the blues. So, you know, that pitted POA is going to be less. But if you're 3.5 inches, big difference.
Got it.
So my mindset was like, you know, how do I, you know, encourage or try to artificially
push the
envelope
shorter grasses
to get them to wake up faster. And all the way, even dating back to my days in Longview, I was always a huge fan of that Thanksgiving dormant feed. You know, get your snow mold out, make sure your leaves are up, and then, you know, put out one of those great earthwork products.
545.
It was 545 until you came out with the 822.
There you go.
And so I always had that mindset, and kind of started thinking differently heading into the open and utilizing the benefits of, you know, the natural product of, you know, the earthworks based, and then the ammonium sulfate in them.
Yeah.
So once soil temps got about 45 to 50, the last 2 years we've gone out and done our dormant feed.
So that turns into more like February time.
Mid to late February.
Yeah.
So that was the timing. With the open, we did it, I believe it was the first week of March. Last year, not gonna lie, weather dictated a lot. Plan was to do it kind of mid-January, but weather just didn't allow it. We had a lot of snow last year, so that pushed back till like kind of more mid-March.
Uh-huh.
And just, back-to-back years of loving the results.
Yeah.
And seeing that the rough, was responding
And obviously in that 2024, when you made that change, you were able to grow that rough up to 3.5
yeah,
inches, and
yep.
you were happy with the results and the consistency over turf types and
with
everything.
very little other necessities. I mean, it's not like I went out and pounded a bunch of in. Some of our construction areas from the renovation in 22 and 23 we did, but as far as going wholesale inside the ropes mentality, we didn't have to. We basically put a little love in with our seed head sprays inside the ropes, and that was it.
And that was you got C3 in those sprays.
C3,
a little bit of foliar fertility as
a little
well.
bit of full fertility, and MagVantage was always in there.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah, forgot. Yeah, so getting that color early,
Yep.
keep pushing that photosynthesis early. And the 822, how much N?
Half pound.
Okay, yeah, so not a lot.
Yeah, not a
Just
lot.
not a lot at all.
No.
Interesting. Okay, well that's good. How did you do stepping that rough back down? I guess with all the drought that
Yeah, it
you
was
dealt
easy.
with, it was easy.
That was easy,
Yeah.
easy peasy.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no rough outside the ropes really, so
Yeah.
just had to,
It was more
the
just
staff loved it because like for 3 weeks after the open, they were just inside the ropes mowing.
Yes.
You could clearly see. I remember flying the drone like a week after, and it was just like, it was almost comical. You could see where everybody went. But
yeah, so that really wasn't an
yeah,
issue.
yeah.
Okay, and that's the major agronomic change? Any other kind of post open sort of shift that you took away? Any pre-emerge insecticide things?
No, not really. I mean, I think we're all, we're all trying to stay current with the innovations, with technology, and whether it's new chemicals or new fertilizers, or the world with autonomous mowers now, et cetera. We're always keeping up with the Joneses when it comes to that. But I think for me, and again, it kind of goes with the patience, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think if it's not broke, don't fix it. You learn from what worked, and you learn from what your mistakes were. And those were the two big things since I've been here that, have really changed from my, young 30-year-old wet behind the ears, ready to be a golf course superintendent, raw kind of guy.
Yeah, you kind of gave up on like needing to hit 15% displacement on your whole aerifications every year. You don't and also also maybe work the timing a little different and utilize that 822 with the ammonium sulfate and get some nice push out of it. Yeah, that's cool. And also look at days like today, 50 degrees in 50 degrees in January, and you've got photosynthesis going on out there. I mean, there's some green turf like that's driving roots. That happens. So and you set yourself up for that. So that's cool. All right, man. Well, good deal. What's the future hold here at LCC? Winter work, or however you want to answer that.
Like I said, we're in a good spot with the club. I mean, we're growing, and it's really exciting from my standpoint. Over the last year, we've instituted our first like long range type committee, which isn't just looking at a year from now or 3 years from now, but 10 years from now.
Like it.
And thinking of the growth, and some of these things that are being bounced around with expansions of facilities, expansion of property, gets me really excited. Hopefully another championship is coming here soon.
Okay.
There's definitely been talks about it.
Yeah.
If I kind of alluded to it, I don't know if I'd be allowed to do another podcast with you, so we won't say those out loud.
Yeah, it's all good, dude.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's a very exciting time. I got a great team with me now, and we're 2 years removed from a pretty big renovation, so it's not that we have a lot of major things going on this winter. We got some additional tree removal. That's been kind of the big thing for me this past fall, is educating the membership that, look, trees in a lot of ways are like people.
Yes.
Like they have a life expectancy too.
Got it.
It's not just disease or, any other abiotic infestation that may cause a tree to go down. It's some of them just get to the point, and
Well, especially these ones that are close on the riverbank and
Yep.
stuff, like well, I'm sure you know, willows and stuff like that, like they've got to go.
I think in the early 30s, 40s, they went through such, when you look back at the original areas of this place, there was hardly any trees, if none.
Okay.
And I think, there was that progression that we've all experienced, that 30s to 60s, 65 time frame where it was plant, 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 plant. Pin oaks were obviously the biggest number one choice for this club for some reason. And they've just gotten rocked with that wilt scorch disease over the last few years. And, on top of that, a lot of, so there was a lot of encroachment on fairways, and, it's something we've been doing since I've been here. But so a lot of tree work this year. With that, we're instituting a tree plan where over the next couple of years, we're going to start introducing some back.
Cool.
Different varieties to add some fall color, to kind of accomplish all the needs that you would need strategically. Last year we started a forward tee program where we started going through and expanding and re-leveling a lot of our forward tees. That's the other big thing about the boom in golf here is, also with the slogan of play it forward, that's been going around a lot.
Yes.
Like, we have a lot of seniors, we have a lot of juniors now.
Yeah.
A lot of women have gotten into the game of golf.
And this is a championship golf course that gives the best in the world a hard time.
Right.
So like, if we want it to be fun for everybody.
Yep. So, and we were in a unique situation when I started here. There was only selective and few, forward tees. Some were in fairways, some weren't. Some holes didn't have them. So now we've been working to put forward tees everywhere. Our fifth hole is getting a little bit of a facelift with the fairway shift and, some selective tree removal there. Yeah, the one back towards the shop. And outside of that, it's business as usual.
Yeah, we'll just keep it going, and enjoy days like today out here at Lancaster Country Club, dude.
Absolutely,
Thank
buddy.
you so much.
Yep.
This has been a lot of fun.
Absolutely, man.
Always good.
Anytime.
All right.
Anytime.
All right. We have a good time. Everybody, thanks for tuning into the Earthworks podcast. Again, I hope you were able to get it on YouTube and check out the beauty of Lancaster Country Club and Josh and I having a good talk. Thank you, everybody.